All right, so I'm here at CES with Pierre Bourgeix, and we're about to walk the Eureka Park show floor. What are you looking for? What's the theme coming out of this for you?
Well, one of the most important things for me, and as well as the industry, especially the security industry, is what technologies are being driven towards our industry. I think for many years, our industry created technology to help itself. Today we see technology moving into our industry at a rapid pace with AI, with analytics, with all kinds of different aspects. And what I want to see today is what technology is going to be that next one that's going to be coming into our industry that we need to be aware of, and what area it's going to affect, what business that it affects, and how it's going to affect us as consultants, as integrators, as end users. So portable access control, this box could be delivered to a, say, conference that you're promoting, you're part of. Say you have 200 people in the conference. You want them to know. You want to know who's in the conference, who's registered. This is immediate access control, so as they walk in, instead of having something that intangible that could be faked, you now have an access control feature within that conference.
Exactly.
Am I selling your product?
I'm selling exactly a good product. Fantastic. We'll hire you as soon as possible.
And what's interesting is that you could tie this. Centric card could be an option because you would have a biometric signature, which is tied to the BLE, to the access control platform, that isn't tied to anything but to this. So now you have dual verification that it's not only the person, so the card, because the card is BLE.
Construction sites?
Construction sites.
Exactly.
Wow. Not bad. The product is actually very interesting because it does play a role in the future of where we're going with access control, but because it's a much more secure environment in a Man-A environment, meaning you could create a SCIF-based environment with using this access control and, in effect, stay off the network, stay off the cloud environment, and be able to use access control effectively. So if this works, obviously we'd have to evaluate it, but that's something interesting.
So here we are at Galeon with talking about cyber protection for healthcare networks.
Exactly right, yes.
So tell us more about the product.
So Galeon is an EHR, pretty much, that works on hyperstructured data. Sorry?
You're a data aggregator first.
It's exactly right,
So once you data aggregate, I would assume that it's big data and metadata, and all data then goes into some form of a process.
Yes.
That's related to the medical practices, right? The different areas of medical practice. Like we have the quote superhighway, right?
Okay,
We understand sort of.
The superhighway, you call it?
Yeah, we call it, basically in the US, we have the provider and then we have their access portals, and they share data. Data.
So there is no really data sharing because it's all on us.
Right.
It's on our side, really. We have the servers, we're sovereign of the data, and the hospital, it controls the data because we know we got the GDPR in Europe, so everything has to be medically compliant. So the process it's actually quite simple. It's all on our side. So this is why it is pretty
So you completely secure the data on your servers.
Yeah.
So tell us about cybersecurity. So
What happens if there's a cyber attack on the network?
I'm really not the expert on that. What I can tell you is that we resisted 2 cyber attacks in France, 2 major ones, but we were attacked by Russia, basically. And the part that used Galeon was saved because it's all on us. But the part that was not using Galeon was destroyed, and even the saves were destroyed because it was not protected well.
So it's fully segmented, separated from the hospital network.
Yes.
So if I say if it's Cleveland Clinic has their own network, right? They use their own PLC infrastructure, right? Eclipse.
Okay.
They'll be on Eclipse, right? So Eclipse is their in effect infrastructure support system that supports all their data sharing and processes. Now, what you're saying is you can serve as a data warehouse or a data aggregator.
Kind of, yeah.
Now, do you form the data to their needs?
No,
No.
they're
Okay.
structured beforehand.
Okay.
So the norms
really,
are.
So you're really truly, when we talk about data center, you're a data center within healthcare.
Yep.
So you serve, and all the data centers are in France?
There are, yes.
Okay. And so you're segmenting the data completely off a network environment so that it prevents potential risk to ransomware attacks. If the network is breached, it can't bifurcate the network wall, right, into their data wall. Their data wall is not, it's not a VLAN, it's separated completely, air-gapped, if you want to call it, to the other network. It is unique only because by focusing on healthcare versus just focusing on the environment that you're dealing with, you've established an entire infrastructure to support that healthcare program. So what's interesting about Galeon is that it does play a role in, say, certain areas of the healthcare industry. I would say that the challenge that they're going to have is how applicable is it to our U.S. standards, and with the current environment that we're in regards to, we'll see NDAA and how that applies, where data now is really, and they would have to really look at building out that same data center environment in the United States. Very cost heavy. They've already built that in Europe. I think that's I think one of the challenges they're going to have outside the European community. But solid concept, solid idea, there's a lot of opportunity there.
We developed a technology and application based on ultra-wideband. Ultra-wideband is a radio frequency technology which allows for precise measurements in distance and angle, as well as activity detection. So we are developing two types of applications, what we call ranging applications, which are these for measuring distance, so enabling, for example, reactions based on proximity of devices to other devices, right? And the other type of applications are based on ultra-wideband radar, where we use these devices as very small radar sources and receivers as well.
So micromotion radar.
Where we can detect micromotions, we can detect breathing, we can detect movement, we can detect people falling, for example, for safety applications, elderly care applications, and so on. We are a provider of both the basic building blocks, so we do develop modules which are based on NXP silicon, and we develop all whatever is needed to enable all the radio frequencies. So these modules, they have antennas embedded, even if you don't see, they are already here. We have modules for low power consumption tags, and we have modules for anchors. And if you look at these modules, they have 3 antennas on board, and they can measure distance, they can measure angles. Okay, so if you start
triangulating distance, triangulating presence.
Correct.
Are you producing this in Italy, or where is this being produced?
This is designed in Italy. We are producing in the Far East for now, and moving also the production into Europe.
Okay, so Far East means China.
Yeah, for now it's China.
So okay, you'll be moving.
But we have many options
to get into the United States. Obviously, we have to change that.
Yeah,
right.
We know we have very.
So are you working? Do you know of companies like Xander Cardian?
Yes, of course, yes.
And are you a competitor to Xander Cardian?
Kind of. For some applications, yes.
Okay.
Xander Cardian, they don't do the ranging
No,
apps.
they don't.
They only do Doppler.
Presence.
All right. We do both.
Okay.
Actually.
And are you simultaneous in that process, or do you separate?
Not yet. In the sense that the new generation chipsets are going to be able to do both in parallel. We are already developing those. We have early access to the technology. So we're going to have very soon hybrid applications involving simultaneous ranging and radar applications.
Outdoor?
Both outdoor and indoor.
So is your strategy, just getting to the answer, is your strategy to the outdoor application where no one's been able to really focus on to triangulate presence in the wild? What is the distance ratio to triangulate that motion?
You mean for the radar applications?
Right. Radar
It
applications.
depends on which type of activity you want to trace, right? We know, for example, with simple people counting, which sometimes it makes sense as an application, we can go up to 12 or 15 meters, right? Then, if you want to trace your heartbeat, then it must be much closer. That's micromotion. It must be much closer.
That's indoor.
Closer, right? And that's basically
so do you see
tracing both?
Do you see your technology potentially embedded in a, say, access control device to ensure that not only do you define identity through access, but you define presence, distance, and correlate distance and presence to a potential threat?
We are already doing that.
Yes.
Well, we are working basically smart locks.
What?
Smart locks.
Okay, mag locks.
And we already started developing with them. We already did the full proof of concept. It was approved by the board, and it's actually in development where we have applications where via ultra-wideband and ultra-wideband enabled phones, smartphones, Apple devices, Samsung devices, Google Pixel devices, and so on.
So internal doors that will now define piggybacking and tailgating at internal doors that have security in mind, but don't have formal security process.
Well, we are.
No,
we are also working on the security part of this, and in fact, we are having also a partnership with a security company, Biometric, which I think is very, very well known. And basically, we secure all the sides of the application, both on the device side and on the application side, because when it goes to smart access, but even through smart payments, which is something that is coming as well for this technology.
Very interesting technology we just saw through TrueSense. One of the things that I'm very interested in is obviously once they move out of the Chinese production and move into Italy or potentially in the US down the line, if they have investors, I would say that their challenge will be the patent side, right? If they're going to be really successful, they're going to have to put themselves in a position like against Xander Cardian and others who have already entered the marketplace and have already positioned themselves in the U.S. So, still, I think that a lot of opportunity there, especially on the radar side. I think that there's a huge amount of opportunity outdoor applications where a lot of what is being done presently isn't exactly that successful. So I see it working in that world.
We're computing on the edge.
So you are edge computing company.
So those are the sensors that are software powered. Okay. So it's all about understanding people, like understanding people presence, the object analysis, understanding any environment. So the first one we do is that we make sensors to understand the environment. Okay, so
you produce the sensors, or you
we're
produce
sensor agnostic.
Very good. Okay, so are you part of the NVIDIA ecosystem or your own ecosystem?
We are just sensor agnostic. We are working with any ultra-wideband chipset.
Very interested in learning more about this technology based on it, and really at the end of the day, the software, the application at the edge, and edge computing and where it is going today in the marketplace, where we have talked about the sensor infusion of 79 billion devices across the world, that ingestion and that use of that data properly to apply to safety and security is very interesting. So I'd love you to give us a little more information about that.
Well, thank you, Pierre, and thank you for having me. So we at Algorized we believe that the sensors should be powered by the software. So the way to make it happen is that you need to bring the software all the way to the edge. Once you run the edge computing on the sensors, you're bringing that utmost intelligence at the very fraction of the millisecond that they're able to start understanding the environment. So the way that we treat the sensors, we build the software for sensors, and the way that we treat it is that we first of all make them to understand the environment, which we call spatial awareness. Then once in the spatial awareness that they're able to understand there are other living people or living objects, and then from the living objects we are able to then classify that if it is the adult, if it is a child, if it's an elderly person, and then even more than that we're able to understand your vital signs like breathing and the heart rate. So last year at the CS we demonstrated that we're able to detect people using these software-enabled sensors to be able to see the people through the wall, for the security segment to be able to protect people, but initially we built it for the rescue missions, so to be able to save people's lives in case of the building collapses. So this year we've taken this further an extension on the safety aspect, and we're bringing this in the automotive segment inside of the vehicle, and we're demonstrating what you can do with the existing sensors, because there are ultra-wideband sensors that are already inside of the vehicle, what you can do through the software. And so what it means is that you are able to detect you as a driver to see how you're breathing, how your heart rate is, so to make sure that you're safe, and also to see even if there is a child that's left back at the back of the seat.
What is your go-to-market plan in general?
We have the customers that are the sensor manufacturers or their solution integrators. So what they actually have, they have hardware companies. Okay? So and what we bring them, we take all the heavy work from them of that scary things when people say about the data scientist, about the software on the edge and this type of things. So we just pack it for them in a simplified form so they can take care of their hardware building element, and we bring them block of the software on top.
So very interesting time we spent with Algorized. Frankly, I'm impressed based upon where they stand right now in terms of platform, edge computing, and the use of their technology to take on the digital transformation of really our world and the security and safety world. What's great about their technology is that they are really truly a product very similar to, say, Meg Computing that was in the industry, recently sold, but they are really set perfectly up to really help our industry with data-centric environment coming out of sensors. And I would say that with alliances with NVIDIA and potentially Intel, I would say that they have an opportunity as solution-based company, not really worried about what sensors out there, but really using modeling and developing those models specific to verticals. They have a really good chance of doing a splash in the marketplace.
Ghostpass is a biometric authentication and storage solution. So right now, everybody's using, or at least trying to use, biometric information. And the way that we've been able to innovate here at Ghostpass is allowing the user to be able to be in control of their own biometric information. So by doing so, we can bypass all the regulations that are out there, allow people to be a lot safer with data leaks and hacks, and actually also save money in terms of bypassing the use of servers or storing the biometric information on servers.
So explain when you say that,
Yep.
right? You just put a loaded gun in my hand.
Of course.
Many bullets.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. So when we talk about really bifurcating the ability for others to have control over my data,
Yes.
but you're putting control in my own hands.
Yes.
So what you're saying is that in the process of using my biometric, I give permission. So it's permission-based authentication, biometric authentication.
Yes.
So explain that process.
Yeah. So right now it's all put into an app. You download the app, and you're registering or authenticating your, let's say, Face ID in this example. We do work with other biometric methods such as fingerprint, retinal, whatever it may be. But for simplicity's sake, we'll stick with Face ID. So you register your Face ID, and it is encrypting all that information. It goes through a server, and then you have your keys, your master keys, and things like that that would decrypt it to eventually authenticate.
Who owns a master key?
Yeah, we do.
Right.
We do. Yeah, nobody else does. Yeah, and that it'd be a huge
That's
deal
what I
if
was
we
about
lost
to
that
say.
master key.
Okay.
Yeah. But it comes back and it authenticates using your own personal handheld device.
So are you using a data lake to ensure the security of that environment?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
And so using that data lake, you're spinning an instance. So there's a one-time transaction.
Yep.
And the one-time transaction is owned by you,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
The data lake segments the encryption to you alone.
Yep.
So it's locking, it opens a box in the data lake that allows you to transact that one transaction for you.
I think it's trying to steal my job, but yeah, that's the sum of it.
Let's talk about registration.
Yes.
Explain the registration process with respect to Ghostpass
Yep.
so that we clearly align consent. Explain to me the consent rule
Yeah.
within that.
Yeah. So what you're consenting to is having all that biometric data on your own personal handheld device, and intermittently using a server to communicate between two services. That's it. If we extend the process even more, then we go into uncharted territory in terms of regulations and stuff. And so we make it so that it's possible for the users to have control and access. If they at any point feel uncomfortable with the service, they delete it on their own handheld device and it's wiped. It's not, you don't have to go to the server to wipe it. It's just wiped completely on your handheld
This is a
device.
one-time transaction. There's nothing. It's a ghost imprint.
Yep. So
On the data lake.
Wait, did you just say it's a what?
It's a ghost imprint on the data lake.
exactly. Liability, there will always be liabilities for everything.
Of course.
The way that we're trying to go about it is to minimize that liability. So like like right now we're partnering with Samsung, and the way that Samsung is using the technology is to allow authorized personnel to be able to enter the office building. That's how we've done it. But the liability still relies on Samsung, but not to the point of data leaks with servers and things like that. It would be like, oh, you happen to lose your handheld device and now you can't access the building, and maybe there's some liability there. There's all sorts of things like legal in terms of legality that can come up, but the risks are a lot lower than if you were to just store all that information on a server.
Okay.
So it was very simple.
Registered, yeah.
Yep. So we just save that information. It is only stored on
on
this
my
handheld
phone.
Yep. This is your handheld phone.
That's right.
And so now, if we were to come over here and access maybe an office building, you could seamlessly do that right here.
And the transaction takes place.
Just like that.
All right. So there is a little lag, but that's
Just because of the CES
Got
Wi-Fi,
it.
it is incredibly still, maybe like
It is-
9.
it is very fast.
It's crazy. But let's say you wanted to use that same information for a apartment building.
correct. Can use it.
Boom. So now you just
apartment-
unlocked your.
okay, got it. Oh, I like it.
Yeah. You could even use it at a restaurant for payment.
As a POS.
Yes. So that application is also there. 'Cause-
What is your strategy going into the US?
Yeah, that's a great question. Right now, what we're mainly focusing on are smart homes, considering that we've applied to CES as like smart cities, like in the smart cities category. So we eventually want to be able to go and partner with other bigger names out there to be able to integrate. I know right now Airbnb is also looking, so hopefully maybe there'd be some kind of
So we
partnership there.
So just had a great, really surprising conversation with Ghostpass. Initially, the concern I had was, holding biometric data and having it unsecure, potentially in a position where it could be obfuscated or positioned to be stolen. Without consent, it'd be dangerous. what Ghostpass has done is created a process which actually allows the user to own its consent of its biometric signature while creating a one-time transaction in a spinned process to a data lake that they are controlling that allows the consent to be approved one time, and that allows the user to be in control of their own biometric and give consent at all times with that transaction key given. Could be used in POS, could be used in opening locks, and can also be used in obviously opening in terms of gate control, entry control systems. So definitely very interesting. We're going to be doing some more work on that ourselves at ESI. I'm very interested to find out more.